We've got a couple here from different videos.
All right.
So the first one is from the Eternity ring video, the most recent one with the half-carat diamonds.
The platinum one. Okay, yeah.
And we've got a question from it looks like Parmesan, like Sean. But how do you know how many stones will go in the ring? Do you always divide by 13, or do you divide by the number of stones you need? And how would you figure that out? Now, the reason why Parmesan is referencing 13 here is because in that particular video, my dad was using 13 stones to put into the platinum band, and he's referring to when you have the band, how you can then work out just how to start marking it.
That's exactly it. It's a weird three-dimensional calculation that you have to make, and I suppose when you take it down to a flat piece, like when you would be making a ring, you'd know what the thickness or the diameter of the finger size is, and you'd know what the thickness of the ring is. And there's a formula that one can work out saying that, right, the thickness is the diameter of the ring is 16.5, for instance, and the thickness is 2, so it's 18.5. You add that basically to the equation, and then times that by pi, and that way you get a close enough starting point, let's put it that way, to give you a way to divide your ring all the way through. But with this particular platinum ring, the stones had quite a depth to them as well, so that needed to be considered as well. So the calculation went as follows. I needed to make sure that I could, onto the minimum height that I could seat the stones in, that would become my thickness, and then I've got the finger size. So there are always things that I can't control. I can't control the finger size because I can't make your finger size go any different to what it is. So that's always going to be a solid factor that can't change. Then the scale of the stones, the size of the stones, the depth of the stones, that's a second factor we're not going to change because that's what we decided on. So essentially it is to try and divide the width or the diameter or the length of the stones, whichever way you're going to be setting them, to make most sense for the diameter that you're working on. And it's a little bit of a trial and error situation, but what I've explained in the video, what Damia explained on the little part, the little animation part that you drew, was basically as close as you can get it. From there onwards, you've got to take those measurements and try them out by moving the divider from point to point without pressing too hard. Just move it until you get to the other side. If you find that the divider comes to exactly the same point, you know you've got exactly the right amount of sections, and that's really how I work it out. And I hope that helps. It's a little bit of a trial and error situation. But if it's 13 stones, we work with 13. If it had to be 14, they wouldn't fit. It fell on 13 because of the diameter and because of what the ring allowed me. That's how you come to that equation.
Awesome. Okay. So
I really can't type that much. You know?
No, it's okay.
So hopefully this helps if there's anybody listening with regards to
with
any
that
of these
particular issue. No.
Explanations. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like this is why I made the little assets that I was hoping to show. So in future lives, when we do answer questions like this, we're going to show exactly what you're talking about, referencing the video and things like that.
Yeah, we're planning to get good at this. It won't always be like that.
So the next question is from the hoop earring video. You know, you made some hoop earrings.
Are those the ones with the texture?
Yeah, the gold ones with the hammered finish.
Yes.
Right, so Dave Adams says, Jaco, around the 6-minute mark, you use some kind of dapping block to keep the earring parts circular. What is this called, please? And any clues about where to purchase? Now, what he's referring to is where you've created the two parts, and you've put them together, and they're not soldered or hinged or anything like that, and you've just put that into the doming punch. The collet block, or
with the collet block.
Like.
Yeah, they're. I don't have one out at the moment. But what do they call those things?
No, I've checked earlier.
There's a name for it.
Like
you know, when you've got a bezel block.
Bezel forming
block. Yes.
Many names, really.
They're fantastic for creating domes and shapes from items. You can force metal into a specific shape.
I'm only shaking, sorry, because you can't really make a dome with that, but like curves, like if cones.
Well, the curve. I mean, this
Cone
is
block.
essentially the same thing when you're taking a doming block, except it's just something that it's a form. It's a forming tool, I suppose, is what you're looking for, and it's the answer is you can buy them from jewelry manufacturing supplies shops. It's difficult to say in different parts of the world because I'm getting a lot of people asking me where to go. I know about a few in the States. I know about a few, obviously, in South Africa and the UK. But there are supplying shops that are sort of more international. Cooks and Gold is pretty international. Now, not everybody will supply everything you're looking for, but they all should have something like this if you are looking at forming. And when you're getting to the stage when you want to shape things with consistency, then damping blocks, as we know them, or what did you call them?
I was bezel forming blocks.
Bezel forming blocks are really.
Or the cone punch. I've always called
cone
it cone punch.
yeah.
But when I searched it up, it wasn't there.
I mean, I don't know what you guys call them. And this is another thing we'd like to do is come up with some sort of a directory that's universal from the entire world because everything is different.
There somewhere.
We call these motors. You're like a Fordham motor. You call these in the UK a pendant drill.
Yeah.
A pendant drill, I think.
Pendant motor.
In from where I'm from, this is called a flexible shaft motor, and it took me some time to try and understand all the terminology, and there's a lot of them, and I'm getting a lot of corrections from around the world as well, saying that they call it this or they call it that. So it'll be lovely to have a little dictionary, don't you guys think? Just to put it up there somewhere, just a little dictionary, like what does it mean?
We just need to focus on showing it.
I suppose, yeah.
So we've got a question, and I'm sorry if I don't know how to pronounce your handle, but it's like CHRLOH.
I know it's always difficult with the handles, but I guess if anybody is watching, it'll pop up on the screen anyway with regards to who's asking the question.
So
you're welcome to add your name if you want us to.
Yeah, let us know what to refer to you as, man.
Yeah.
So are you using any digital designing tools like CAD programs, or do you only work on paper? So it's Chris. Yeah, I thought it might be. I didn't want to assume.
So digital design, no. I do use Procreate but that's more for it's more for presentation is what I do. So I like designing by hand. I like to do everything old school. I feel there's a bit more of a connection to it. I ever see the benefit of having 3D designs on Rhino or CAD or anything like that. I haven't gone there, and I think if I do go there, then I'll become slightly obsessed with it as well, because I could spend a bit too much time sort of refining things. So I design on paper. Years hard works for me. So, and it will be different if you're just starting out as well. You have to relate to the customer who's commissioning the work, that you know what they're looking for, because it's a frightening experience coming and spending a lot of money for something that they want to keep forever, and just with blind faith going into a transaction without really knowing what's going on. So this is where the CAD's good, because you can really present a three-dimensional model and say that's what I'm going to do. But I've never done that, so it's always been either a really rough idea, this is what I'm thinking, and then usually before I start working for my own sake, I would the prepping side of things, I would do like a technical scaled drawing, and that's not just for the customer to understand what's going on. If it's scaled up to size on a technical drawing board with a pencil, while I'm doing it, I'm conceptualizing the making of it as well. So I'm thinking about it. I suppose same with digital, but the way I'm doing it, it's almost like I have a hand in the creation of the piece. And I would then from there onwards, if I see anything out of proportion, or if I want to bring proportions back into it, I would do the amendment and then present the customer with the sketch if they need to. That's the way I've been going about it. But over the years, as you get along in the trade, you start becoming, I suppose, known by word of mouth that that you deliver a certain standard work, or you're the guy to go for, or the girl to go for, to do this particular type of thing. And then it starts carrying that design process where that people would come to you and kind of anticipate that you already know what you're talking about, and just leave it up to you in a way to make sure that the ring comes the way it is. So we don't always design. We get given briefs of what people want, and then a lot of carte blanche at this stage of my career. But it is important to, I suppose, sketching something by hand would be the way I go about it. So no, I don't do other than taking Procreate on the iPad and just sort of colouring it in to give it a bit more of a three-dimensional feel. But there's no measurements that you could use from that.
Awesome, Pops, thank you. And then we've got a couple of, we've got a bit of what people call the flexible shaft. In America, in the US, they say flex shaft.
I'd expect that, yeah, because it is American product. This particular one.
Ari says hangmotor, which makes sense. Hang motor. I mean, let's keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
And he also has a question, or they also have a question, but it's in Dutch. So I did translate it loosely.
Well, read it in Dutch. Let me see.
Oh, I can't do it. Okay, I will do it for you, Dad. But
let me see if I can understand it. Well, there's such a close relationship between Afrikaans and Dutch. It's ridiculous. When I went to
Amsterdam.
It was Amsterdam, yeah. When I went to Amsterdam, I literally, you could read all the street signs, you could communicate. There's a small difference in the language, but it's so close that you can mostly understand it.
I'll do my best here.
Okay, let's hear this.
So it says, I think, waarom doe
Why do
je het meeste met platinum alsof het gevecht met het metaal meer bevrediging geeft? My God,
so
guys.
platinum, yes. I'm assuming it's like, okay, what would you say it is?
So now I put into Google Translate to spare myself from that experience, but there we go. Why do you do most of your work with platinum?
And
as if the fight with the metal is more satisfying.
It is, yeah. I got most of that. I think.
You? Oh God.
What is it about platinum? I have most respect for the metal because it allows me to do more to start off with. So if we're talking about resistance, then it pushes back more than what another metal would. It requires more from you, but it delivers more. And traditionally, looking at jewelry and the craft of jewelry making, your detail tends to stay for longer on platinum. It's a harder metal, not harder. It's such a difficult thing to explain, but it is such more. Once you master it, you become familiar with it. It becomes your best friend. Let's put it that way. It's not called the noble metal for no reason. It really is something that's, I suppose, it's the apex of it, of metal work in my books, is platinum. It requires respect, and it gives respect at the same time, and it allows you so much more as a craftsperson, as a goldsmith.
You've mentioned before that actually, like when you see old jewelry come in and the engraving's been done in platinum, it obviously holds that engraving.
It holds its detail because it's far denser than any other metal. So when you're looking at old engraving, like the Maya says, you're getting rings in from the 1930s or whatever, and pattern rings, for instance, like in a traditional pattern cut going around a ring, for instance, in wedding bands, it was quite popular. The gold, you'll find that there's some part of the pattern that would be, you might be able to track what pattern they used if you wanted to do, say, for instance, a sizing on a ring to replicate it. Whereas platinum is pretty much still there. You know, it stands the test of time. It's so much denser that it holds its form so much better. It's great for setting stones, and it's just the best color. If you wanted to use a different metal color, it's the best neutral color. It's a sun in a universe, on a solar system. That's what it is. Everything else revolves around it.
In your world, you might get people out there that's like, hey, I absolutely love rose gold, like, and that's their sun. So
fair enough. We all got in this solar system,
solar
in this workshop system, solar thing. No, honestly, it's my favorite because of all those reasons.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's great, and we will do more videos on platinum. We've also, Ahmed said in the comments, do a video tutorial how to do a mirror finish polishing of platinum. We absolutely will. We have made mention of it in previous videos, like certain, and I'll try and find the links for it and post it in the description when we post this live.
The mirror finish thing is just it's when we're making something, that's what we go for. When I'm repairing something, I take it to what the item allows me, because I might be working with a casting or something like that where you might polish too long and it opens up porosity. There could be problems. But if I've made something, then the mirror finish is what we go for the whole time, and you achieve that by just keep on refining. So this is why platinum costs more as well, because every process is longer. But again, you put the time in, it will give you something that nothing else can. So it requires you to go so many more steps towards finalizing it, and then it gives you such a better reflection, and it keeps the reflection much better as well. So our polishing process with platinum or finishing, let's call it finishing process, is easily 3 to 4 times longer than anything else that we work with.
Yeah, and because you usually take it down to, where possible, a 3000 grit sandpaper, which is obviously not possible to be successful unless you've gone through all the stages and made sure that
it won't allow you. You won't be able to polish a little scratch away. It won't allow you. It's just too resistant. So you have to take care of the entire finish to the finest degree before you even get to the polisher. It doesn't have, like when you're having silver or some small scratches on the surface like gold, and you can polish it off because the polisher takes care of it, and it doesn't allow you that. It will just sit there and laugh at you, and mock you.
Yeah.
So
you know what? Ahmed has said a couple of other things. Well, another comment. The 3-claws ring you did last year, it had some incredible polishing. If you could do a tutorial on something like that, I would be forever grateful. You know what? We're going to do that. We're going to do it, Dad.
Are we?
I'm penciling it in. We'll do it.
We've got a list somewhere.
Yeah, no.
But 3-claw ring, which one was that again? I'm trying to think now.
We've done the trilogy ring is a running joke between us because there's so many of them on the channel. So I don't exactly know. But the thing is, I think it would be good to be specific about platinum and do one.
It needs continuous tutorials on it, because there's
so much to it.
There's so much to it. Yeah, there's just so much more.
And then we've got a couple of other comments. I just want to make sure that we stay on top of it.
Yes, do that.
So Stephen Pollock says, I cut opals, so I've mainly been focused on bezels and pendants. Any good tricks for that? I use silver. Now, I just want to say that's awesome. And
opals, that's amazing.
I love to watch those opals being cut. Like, I'm sure, I don't know if you know the guy. What's the channel's name now?
The Opal Guy.
Yeah, he cuts opals, and it's like the best, most satisfying videos. Like,
they are incredible stones, just incredible. So, I mean, so opals.
Use caution.
Silver allows you a lot, because silver is a very gentle material to work with, and it's sort of soft in a way as well. So when it comes down to metals, I think about it like clay, like putty. That's just very stiff, really, is what I'm thinking about. And silver is sort of the polar opposite to the platinum. So it forgives you a little bit more when you're touching a stone, for instance. And opals being so soft, you need to be absolutely careful, of course, with what you're working with. But you can still do it with platinum and gold as well, of course. But opals obviously is they're one of the stones that we're very, very cautious around, to make sure that we don't damage them. And silver is great for that, actually, because it's such a soft pillow to fall into as a stone.
Yeah, and I would say, like, so say for instance you're making an opal pendant, that's rub set, so tube set. What would you say in terms of the wall thickness? What would you go for? I know you say a lot of the time 1/3 of the metal thickness, but I'm just thinking about some tips that can be applied.
Depends how the opals are cut. So you might be familiar with the specific cuts, because sometimes you've got a bezel going down to the bottom. Basically, all you need to do with something with an opal is just pinch it ever so slightly. It's not the kind of pressure that holds a stone down. It's more of a collective hold that you have on it. So you don't need much at all. I mean, for myself personally, I would probably be working, if I'm only talking about the little part that goes over. And it's also a different way of making the setting, because you really only want that wall. You can obviously cut it away, but if I had to have a wall that I'm working with, you can go down to 0.5 easy, with that. Depending on what you're looking for, really, it is so vast. It might require a 1 millimeter wall, but 0.5 would be more than enough, because again, we're not relying on a single claw, as far as I understand. With going with the bezel, you need continuous contact. It's more important to get the shape absolutely perfectly right, so that there's minimum amount of contact that you need all around, but it will stick.
Yeah, it's good to. But if you're okay, so what I understood from that is that there's not much. That it doesn't require much, because it's not falling on just one part. It's not a, But another thing I want to ask is, like, if you were to put it in a percentage, so that it could be applied to more.
So it can't really do percentages, because what you typically do with a bezel setting with the opal is that you have a seated area, and then you've got a second sleeve. That's how I would approach it. So I'm sitting with literally just that. But really, it's so difficult to give this as a definitive answer, because every one of the situations are completely different. If it's a ring, you want to be a little bit more sturdy with it. If it's a pendant, you can be a little bit more relaxed. It lends itself to being a piece of fine jewelry, or if you wanted a piece of chunky jewelry. So it really, the main thing is that silver, you can go pretty thin. With opals,
in that style,
so long as you think about polishing and the working off and everything afterwards, you don't want to sit with anything that ever becomes paper thin. You just want to have a decent consistency all the way around. A 0.5 would be fine in my books.
Great stuff, Pops. And Stephen Pollock also says Black Opal Direct, and yes, it is the channel. Guys, if you want to watch something super satisfying, go check it out. He says, they say, yes, I know a few in the opal world, and I do appreciate the info. Thank you very much. That's awesome.
That's brilliant.
And also, Ari was so sweet about my
your
Dutch
pronunciation.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then I'm trying to go up here, see if there's any other comments. I know there definitely are. Here we go. Chris has got a question. Different Chris. Hello. Any tips on tongue clasps that are small and silver? How to maintain elasticity?
Oh, I've had that before.
Yeah.
It's such a weird world, that Chris. I guess if you're looking at
you harden it, don't you?
Probably, it is such a difficult metal to make a tongue clasp with, because even if you got, the bracelets that you would buy from suppliers and stockers that use silver and tongue clasps, they almost always go to the same direction, which is they flatten out and they won't have elasticity. There are some methods if you're going to be working with silver on that clasp mechanism. First of all, obviously, if you harden it as much as you possibly can, put as much, as little as possible annealing on the piece of metal, and just keep hardening it by hammering it. You're going to get the best result. I'm tempted to say that I would even go, and there are ways of hardening silver, and I'm not sure about it now, because I have years. It's been years since I've done this. But there are temperatures that you could constantly keep the silver to get the structure to be as hard as possible, and I'd have to read up on that again. But that there is a hardening method over there. And the other option is just to use, for the tongue alone, perhaps like a hardened gold. It's not a huge sacrifice for a piece like that to get the spring that you're looking for. Silver tends to be difficult in the tongue area.
But I suppose it's about maybe managing also the client's well, you don't want to necessarily tell them straight up.
It depends on the item, I suppose. I would probably go to a slightly different mechanism on the silver rather than a tongue, because they do tend to. I mean, you can just adjust them at the end of the day, but they keep doing the same thing. I've had the same problem. I think we all have. But I would harden it. I'll give it everything that I possibly can, meaning that I'll harden it, I'll stay away from it, I'll harden it again, I'll do whatever I possibly can to make it last as long as possible, and I'll still get the customer to come back for adjustment. So I don't think it's really the best mechanism for best metal for a tongue, or the best mechanism for silver. There are some really interesting mechanisms that can replace the silver tongue mechanism, and I think are better. With regards to the metal of silver, that
like
I would suggest.
Longevity.
Box clasps are a whole different category of fish.
And we should be doing one.
Because they are. Whenever I find a good one, and especially the ones that come from Europe, I've seen some really interesting ones. And whenever I see something that fascinates me, I suggest you do the same as you. While you have it on the desk, take a few pictures, take a few measurements, write it down, because it's information that's going to pass through your world that you can lean on again later on. So I have taken many photographs of many fascinating clasps. And you think there's an end to it, but there's not. It's an endless, it's as vast as the human imagination, and you keep being surprised. It's been 30 plus years for me, and I still find things, and I'm like, wow, It's so simple. How have I not thought about this? And it's usually from like 1940 or something. Where it's like just some secret that one workshop had.
Yeah, you tip your hat.
You tip your hat, but
respect.
mechanisms in silver, I would say that there's a few better ones. That if I had to make something, I would either use a different metal or
and if the
different style.
If the customer is looking for that type of clasp,
the customer will be looking for security, not specifics about how it works. A box mechanism can be a box mechanism. It can still be something that clips into it, but the way that the clasp open can be sprung this direction or this direction. And there's also several security methods that you can use to
clasps.
Yeah, but I don't think the customer is going to come and they want the item to be safe at the end of the day. And I think it's almost like line bracelets. It's an imitation to what works in 18 karat, what works in platinum. A cheaper alternative, if anything, but it's not as practical because of its molecular structure. It's just not as hard. So we are already asking from silver more than what silver can provide.
Oh, shame.
But there is obviously a maximum that you can bring these things to. It's not impossible, and I would say that the best thing to do if you really want to specialize in this is to have a look and see how to harden silver on a consistent heat. Which brings its own issues, but there are optimum heat, continuous heat that will rearrange the structure of silver and not anneal it.
Some science
in there, like you would quench steel and soften steel and that.
Right, and we've got some more comments, which is awesome.
It's nice of you guys to be here. Thanks for helping us out.
It's so
Is
nice.
the sound still all right? Is everything still okay? You guys still good?
It's looking like it's working here with the levels. Okay, so Carl Jordan.
Hey,
Opakali.
Gaan we met pa? Hello.
With the customer being involved in the design, does the design change during the production to bring in new ideas? That's interesting.
That's a good question, because we have I do tell my customers that we start with a base point. When it comes down to the design as well being part of the whole thing, you have a bit of freedom, and I suppose what are we trying to do is we're trying to bring elements together and make sure that the balance and the flow of the ring is correct. You already win by that point. If a small design element comes up on my bench once I've even designed it and I've discussed it with the customer, and it just makes obvious sense to me while I'm busy working with it that this would be a great option, I'd stop at that point and give the customer a call and go, I'm just working with it and I've just thought about this and I think it's going to be amazing. And I've never had a customer go, no, I don't really think that's going to work, because they know that being right in front of you, the development of the ring almost sort of organically grows to a point where it allows you more than what you might have been able to envision to start off with. So it does change, but usually it's very close to what we started off with. It's never a surprise to the customer. We don't just roguely like start adding different stones or anything like that, but I'm talking about small design elements that I might have missed, and then we do point it out.
I'm just thinking of a ring. I know you didn't roguely add the stones, but you did decide to put like loads of extra diamonds in the ring.
I've gone mad from time to time and done such things, yeah, but the customers have always been happy.
And they've been also they've been involved.
Yeah. Here's the thing about design, and also, like I said from the beginning, you have the responsibility. You know what you can do, and the customer comes to you with a request. We're talking about something that's invisible. It doesn't exist yet, but you've got the experience to understand how to develop it and how to make it. Therefore, you're kind of like the magician right over here, talking about this magical thing that doesn't happen, that hasn't yet materialized. The main thing is to make sure that your customer is aware, and don't be scared to contact them through a process. If you're working with something and you come across something, I always think about it like myself. I would like to be informed, to know if something's gone wrong or something's going to change. Keep your customer informed. They're already a part of the process because they're making something, they're having something made rather than buying something, and therefore they're already involved in the process. If you involve them, they will feel like they're part of the whole process, and that is a benefit to having something made, because you're steering someone's idea, you're steering somebody's vision and making it a reality. So keeping in contact with your customer, no matter what, it's necessary. We don't cut communication once we started. If something happens to change, we'll suggest it, and usually everybody's quite happy with the suggested, because they believe what you do. You know, they know that you're able to get to the final result, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that.
No secrets. Don't keep secrets there.
It doesn't need to.
Surprise, you know. I thought yellow gold was much better than platinum. It's just, you know,
that is not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing dramatic.
We've got some more comments, which is awesome. Do you think that? Oh, this is from Nawar. Do you think that tumbler is an important thing? It hardens metal and pieces shine. There's so many things I need to purchase. I want my jewelry to look presentable.
It depends where you are. In my previous setup, my previous workshop, it was far more of a situation where we made appointments and we saw customers, and I couldn't justify certain tools. I'm in a retail capacity right now, so it made sense for me to go with for a certain repair work to be done on a laser welder, which I wouldn't have bought if I was working by myself and just manufacturing. So I found that this tumbler, for instance, in my previous shop as well, I had this exact same question as you. I thought, do I need it? Is it necessary? You know, what is it going to help me with? And I found that once I bought it, I basically couldn't switch it off. It became everything. It was just on continuously the whole day through. So it became very necessary for myself. But stepping into the world of making jewelry, I would caution you to make sure that there's a lot of stuff that you would buy and not use or not need. The best thing to do is get to a point where you absolutely can't do without it anymore, and then acquire it. Otherwise, because of the costs of the machines being what they are, you might overlook something that's much cheaper but far more relevant to your personal workshop. So my advice is to work to a point where you actually will need it. It's fascinating to have everything, and if you possibly can buy everything, go right ahead and do that.
And I suppose,
but it's a safe way to move forward, because I remember when I started out as well, you start off by buying things, and the salespeople will sell you things, you know, and you realize 3/4 of the stuff you bought you would never use. It's completely out of your league. You're not even going to go into that direction. At the same time, you should have bought A, B, and C over there. So It is a daunting process, but you can also start your jewelry career and end it perhaps with a bench peg, a saw and drill, without even having to pick up a solder, for instance, ever. That's how much lies within each one of the processes. So you might work and never need it. If you feel that it will speed up your process, go for it.
Or help you with your presentation.
It certainly helps with chain polishes and that kind of stuff.
And also pre-polishing the inside of bezels and stuff.
Pre-polishing, it's really great. So it has its definite point. We use it regularly in the shop here. But then again, we have to use certain tools to make us move through the processes as we go. But yeah, no tool is a bad tool. You'll probably find that you buy anything, you'll use it.
And now we've got quite a lot of comments, so I just want to make sure that we...
Okay.
Yeah, so, and Stephen Pollock says again, I'll say it again, appreciate the knowledge. That's nice, thank you.
You guys are welcome. It's free of charge.
And then...
We're happy to share.
And then Marcin says, no question from me, just wanted to thank you for your content. It's been one of the best sources of knowledge for me, beginner in this hobby. Oh, that's
man,
so nice.
So welcome. I'm so glad that it actually lands. We really, honestly, it's given me so much over the years that it's inevitable for us to want to share it. And I encourage you to do the same with anybody that comes into your life, that it needs to live on. It's a human experience. It's a similar thing to sculpting or painting, or it has value, and it shows human ability, and it encourages other people to do the same, and it inspires people, and there's a craft side to this, and there's an art side to it, and the more it develops, it becomes almost sort of like it has a silent language, jewelry. And it's so rewarding, so I'm really glad to see you here.
And then also, Lord Mark says, have you ever worked with purple gold before?
Lord Mark.
Lord Mark.
Lord Mark asks the most interesting questions. I'm worried because he usually approves one of my answers.
Oh.
I haven't. We've done a previous live, actually, and the purple gold thing came up. And no, I haven't. It's the weirdest thing, because it's there's an experimentation of metals, which I wish I had more time, Mark, to actually just experiment and play around with different techniques and different metals. And green gold's the other one that I've been asked about, and I've seen it, and it's not dramatic. I think purple, was it aluminium? Or if you're in America, aluminum, I can't say it.
Aluminum.
Aluminum.
But also Nile Red, the guy from the previous live, said that Nile, and I actually watched the entire video, it was like an hour long, of him creating his own purple gold. So that's a good video to go check out, like if anyone's curious.
I mean, say it again.
Nile Red.
Yeah, go and have a look there. I haven't myself. Look, I'll tell you something. I'm incredibly comfortable with the metals that I'm working with. So I'm incredibly comfortable with the platinum and the mixes that I use. And I suppose it's a flow of movement. I like to call it a dance in the workshop. That you move around and everything moves with you. And it's a wonderful place to be. Every now and then I come across something with a little bit of stronger resistance to it or something like that, and it's like a stranger walking into your life going, what's going on, who are you? Why aren't you moving?
This is white gold, but it's acting a little bit like rose gold. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then
I like the way that things work because at this point the consistency that I'm using with regards to my setting, my forming of my metal is very, it corresponds very well. I haven't tried purple. I'd be interested to.
And I think,
but I'll be honest with you, you're catching us at the end of the day right now, and we've got a retail shop here, and the day just goes crazy. We've opened about a year ago in this town called Henley-on-Thames in Oxfordshire, and we didn't know how it was going to go, and subsequently we've stepped right into it. People have now found out that we exist, and and they're streaming into the shop, and we're trying to manage helping customers and also getting the work done, and the orders are coming up, and we've got it's getting a bit crazy. So it's like a holiday for me trying purple gold, man. You'll have to tell me all about it from your side. It would be like a luxury.
Maybe. And also, I think your loyalty lies with platinum.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but I have not. Actually,
Not
that's
yet.
an incredibly
Not
long
yet.
answer to your question. No, I haven't.
Okay, I'm going to move on to another comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the lovely comments. I'm going to read them out so my dad can just hear them every now and again. So Delmar says, I really appreciate you and your time to teach us. Thank you. Thank you,
Absolutely
Delmar.
welcome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then I'm moving on to another, I think, Dutch comment, which I'm not going to read because even though I
They're teasing you now.
No.
I want to see the analytics actually, because we're getting more Dutch viewers.
Yeah, I think it translates to, and it's from Ari. It says, I often see a gold. This is a loose translation, okay, on Google. I often see gold ring with platinum claw in front and stone. How to work safely with it without contamination? Yeah, that's what I think. So
Yeah. That's a good question as well, because you want to completely separate the platinum from the gold and completely just work with platinum. Even the tools, clean them and try and get, because it contaminates so easily. So it's a good question. Finalize what you're going to be setting the stone in. So I would then, once I finalize it, what I mean by finalizing is pre-polish, like as good as it can get, and then make the other ring separate to that platinum, clear everything off, make this ring, and then bring those parts together. And once they're together, the parts that you filing off and you're cutting off, that goes into what I refer to as my bench lamel. This is metal that comes off rings when I'm sizing them, and foreign metal that I haven't mixed myself, and this all goes into that, which I then refine once it gets to a certain level. You can't work with platinum solderings platinum onto silver or gold or something like that. It simply will melt the metal. It's got too much of a high melting point, and you don't really want to be working with easy solders. I would go to the hardest gold solder to join them together. I've never had an issue with it not joining, but I would spend a bit of time with the hardest solder. So basically, always try and give it its best shot that you possibly can. And it works wonderfully if you're mixing, especially 18 karat yellow gold and platinum. The contrast is just incredible. There's nothing better. Maybe 22 karat would be better with platinum.
Very soft.
Such a lovely color contrast as well.
And I'm just gonna. All of a sudden, I've like got a fire under me because I'm really conscious of all comments.
All right, we were answering comments on some of the videos, but I love the fact that you guys are asking.
We can. I think we can do that maybe in our own time because everyone's shown up. So
if you guys are there and you want me to answer a few more questions, I'm more than happy to do so.
So Pops, the next one we've got is Kyle. And they ask, is there a specific way you measure and mark your metal before performing pave stone setting? Now, I know you use the X tool, but I know that you've also used other methods.
On the pave?
Yeah, to mark the metal. Like, I guess you would clean
it up.
No,
I wouldn't mark it with the X tool for pave setting or anything like that. Now, if it's flat, then you can. If it's a flat surface, but it's a ring or something like that, then usually I would try and get the ring for pave or anything like that. If it's a channel or pave, I would usually just try and get the ring as straight as I possibly can, meaning that like the walls are absolutely angular and flat at the top. So I'm preparing the ring to be a kind of a blank canvas. Again, I'm trying to give it the best chance I have to get the best result out of it. So if I'm starting with the set, we're actually just receiving one back tomorrow from the assay office. I'm doing a little 18 karat full eternity, and this ring is absolutely flush on the side. So all the wall, whether you're going to shape it afterwards, is completely irrelevant. Keep it as straight as you possibly can, because it allows you to make the most accurate markings with the divider. Very light dividing marks, trying to get the middle mark. Now try and estimate it ever so slightly on a little area and see how close I can get, and then draw the first line in the center, and then from there onwards divide it up cautiously. And then once you've got the absolute perfect amount coming back to its own on an eternity, for instance, then commit to it and press it in. So you'll have a few little marks where you've tried, but then eventually just compress those marks and make solid points. And those marks I'm using I'm not using the points where I've marked it. I'm using those as reference marks, and I'm using the center area because visually you can judge the center area. So I'm actually not looking at the marks, but the in-between spots.
So the negatives,
To the negative space to create the holes.
It's something we should do a video on, actually, Dad.
It's
we
tricky
haven't done
because
it.
I've set all my life, and I'm not. It's almost something that you need a little bit more camera equipment for. I see the setters doing such a good job with regards to really kind of like showing you right there in your face how to do these things. I can explain it from what I do, perhaps on a video.
And we can try.
We'll try and bring more set work in. It's really it's a part of the job, isn't it? So we'll try and bring it in.
I just think because I've seen a couple of comments asking specifically for pave. Maybe we can do something. I'm just going to put it here, pave. And I think
Dema's making notes.
And this should be, watch out. I'll be back in the week with a macro lens.
She'll be coming back with a whole list of things that we have to attend to.
Cool. So hopefully that was helpful. And then I'm going to move on to Safari Jewelry Streams.
By the way, I'm so glad that this program is working this time around. We had a bit of a flop on the first time around trying to get going on it.
It's only because I thought that you could do 2 guests on YouTube, which this is going to change.
The whole thing is just learning, isn't it? We're all learning something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a constant fight, really.
And then, and Ari also asked, and this is important, I think, do you do castings now, or do you make everything by hand? Now, I know that obviously there's a preference to making by hand, but there are certain situations which you do cast in, which is when you're having problems with the metal, when you're using somebody else's gold and it's not responding in the roller in a way.
I mean, do we do it as a norm? No, we try and make everything by hand. Do we do sort of like, I've got no connections to do castings. I don't think I've got a supplier even. I might know of 1 or 2 people that do castings, but there might be a situation where,
like with those signets.
There are very few situations where so let me put it this way. I see it as, I'm going to always try and make something by hand, even if it's a challenge, because I love challenges and I want to fight. I want to fight in the workshop. I want to make sure that I'm on top of my game. So the excitement lies with making it by hand. That's why I've made, I don't know if you've seen that platinum diamond ring, the last one with a sort of flat top.
Yeah, flat top with the oval.
Yeah, the oval.
Yeah,
oval
with the plate construction.
It's a challenge because it's easier for me to carve it and to cast it. It is easier to do that, but then it's also in my head. I don't like easy. I like a challenge. But we have had situations where I've needed to do casting, and then I try and go old school and try and do sand casting, Delft clay casting or something like that. Again, give me as much of a challenge. I don't have anything against casting. The machines have gotten so good at it as well. I just prefer to make it by hand. But then, if you're going to ask me to do, let's say, like a medallion or something, or a small sculpture, then I'd probably do lost wax casting for that.
But even then, we've done a video where you've carved things out of gold. I know there's quite a lot of losses there, but I've seen that as well. And this, I think we should save this for a video. It's personally, my preference is to make things by hand, and that's only, like I say, because it's a fight. I do very, very few or no. Probably cast about 2 or 3 rings in my life, if I can put it that way. And that would have been for incredible losses if I'd done it any other way. So it's also using that tool rather than the other way. Awesome. Okay, we've got another comment from unknown, but that's okay.
Don't be unknown.
No. We respect your anonymity.
Okay.
Do you have any advice in getting an apprenticeship, or what would impress you if someone asked you if they can apprentice under you? So what do you look for in an apprentice, I guess?
In an apprentice, you.
What are the qualities, I suppose, in a person that you look for?
First of all, go and put yourself out there. It's a tricky one because you wanna go. It's both a risk to the employer as well as to yourself, and an apprenticeship takes time, and you are not going to be any benefit to that shop until you reach a certain level. So you'll actually be draining time out of the person that's teaching you up until that point.
They'll be investing.
You would want to go find the best person that you've got in the area and insist on just stepping in there and just helping, and make yourself known and show your enthusiasm, and also know that in a while of working with regards to the environment that you're in, if you're not happy, that you can step away from it as well, because it's got to work both ways. It's not such thing as slavery, really. You wanna show what you have to offer, and that comes with enthusiasm, I'd say.
Yeah.
You're gonna want it. You're gonna want to understand it. And there's so much. If you're learning to make something by hand, there is really the old school way of doing it was that you'd be a year on sweeping the floors and making coffee, and another year on polishing and finishing things off, and another year. It's a slow process, and it has some merit to that system, because there's so much that needs to be taken in, not only on how to approach an item, but the entire environment's got to work for you. And I take my hat off if you want to go that route, to learn by apprenticeship through the right person is probably one of the best ways of understanding. This is essentially what YouTube is doing these days, a shortcut.
Lord Mark approves this stream. I love it. It says very suitable answer. I approve this stream. Oh, that's awesome.
We need to do a chat, Lord Mark.
So also, I'm also just conscious that we've been streaming for over an hour.
Have
so,
we?
yeah,
Right,
and
guys.
so I think we absolutely need to do this again. This has been so nice.
This is us
I've
trying.
loved it.
Yeah, this is us trying it out. I want to have more contact with you guys, because it is such a personal thing, and I find it difficult to also sometimes explain certain questions. So we'll come up with a format how we can make this happen a little bit more often, and also a format where we could directly answer some of the questions in more detail, and also maybe also.
Oh my gosh,
There's so much that opens up from your onwards,
honestly, guys, I've already started. All I need is another week with the software, and I'm going to be able to show the things that we're referring to. So little video clips and show you pictures of the images, images of certain things. So it's really going to improve the experience. But for now, baby steps. And just before we go, I just want to make sure, and I'm really sorry if I've missed anything out. Stephen Pollock says thank you again. Hope y'all stay doing well. Whoop whoop. I love it. The energy is really great here tonight, guys.
It's been fantastic. To be honest with you guys, it's been amazing. This whole journey that we've been on has been so fantastic. We're just getting positivity from everybody all over the place, and it's just been a wonderful. It makes us want to do this and keep on doing it as well. So thank you very much for all you wonderful folks supporting and being here, because it would have been strange if I just sat here speaking to absolutely nobody. And thank you for being part of the channel. Thank you for being part of the community
and the trade. And I know that there are a couple of comments we haven't gotten to, and I wonder if I shouldn't just maybe just one more. Okay,
one more.
Hey Jaco, good to see. This is Doge Ghost. Hey Jaco, good to see you stream and talk with the community. I'm a goldsmith who really appreciates working by hand. How was the journey for you, collecting more and more machines? Thanks for the help. Asking for all the self-starting goldsmiths out there. So I think we did touch on this earlier, but yeah, I guess
perhaps if you went there. So it's been incredible. And you know what happens is I find a lot of guys stepping out of the trade that are like I'm trying to encourage the trade from my position, being in the trade for a while now. A lot of people retiring would rather pass their tools to the younger generation, where you get given things, and that it's almost got so much more meaning, because now you're working with something that has had a bit of history as well. It's made jewelry, but as far as acquiring tools, it's such a help. For what's available these days is just so incredible. So,
but what did you start out with, for instance? Like you were talking about the simplicity of what you can start out with.
Yeah.
Versus, obviously, we're in a situation now. You've built up years of experience.
It was a crash course for me.
I mean, didn't you say you told me you cycled. Like,
Yeah, I used to have to go to another jeweler just to use his roller for a few rolls and then go back home and then, until it got to a point where it was just ridiculous. I think people felt sorry for me as well. I got given things like ultrasonic machines that were broken and I like fixed them up and, there's people are kind. The people are really kind. You'll find that there's some tools that are in excess. Make friends with everybody that you can that are in the trade. If you find that there's somebody that sort of shields away, don't push it, but there'll be more than enough people that will open their workshops for most of you to even just have a day of viewing or just being present in that environment to see what it's about. I've certainly been given so many open doors in my career in the beginning, and there's a lot of people that are sitting with excess tools or they've bought new ones that will pass things over to you, and it's almost like it means a lot because that we're passing batons on to the next generation as well.
what would you say if you were to buy 3 tools as you begin? What would you get? What was the
saw?
first?
I wouldn't even buy a drill because you can use a normal drill that you would buy for a normal house drill if you really need to. Bench peg, definitely. And with those two, I had a friend that literally had a tree stump and a bench peg. And then from there onwards, maybe a hammer. And with those 3 tools, you can pretty much, if you have enough time, you can pretty much.
And creativity, and I suppose it depends what you're doing it for.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Your very first tools, I would say, get a saw, hammer, and maybe a small drill, like a Dremel drill or something, just to start off with.
And
so
a
the ability
bench
to
peg.
pierce through, open up a hole, and cut patterns out. You can be busy for years just doing that. Look at Jean Berger stuff.
Beautiful.
That's insane.
Guys, again, Jean Berger. If you don't know her work, it's like she does insane stuff. It's
limitless, even with those 3 tools. So it's a difficult thing to say because as a person you might be more interested in working with a torch, for instance, and what a torch can do. And so it doesn't fit anybody. There's no one universal kit, but start with the basics. Work until you possibly can't anymore, and then go to the next step and buy the next tool. Don't just buy because it looks pretty, because they all look pretty.
And
you'll end up out of
tool
pocket very
addiction
quickly.
problem.
It was lovely seeing you guys. I have to go because I have a dog called Luger, and he
needs a walk.
He needs many things.
And love. And
lots
you guys,
of
thank you
emotional
so much.
support as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all these lovely
Thank you very much for being here.
off comments as well. We really appreciate you guys. I've read all of them, and my dad will be able to see them as well.
Yeah, this is going to be like a 20-minute thing, Damia said.
Yeah, I know, but I've had such a good time, and it's been, Thank you so much, guys. Have a great evening or morning or day wherever you are.
Yeah.
And we will see you soon.
Cheers.
Take it easy.
Bye.